Hi there, Pisces. I'm EllaAradia, and welcome to your May 2026 Psychic Tarot reading. This reading is for my Pisces water signs, where we'll be exploring the overall energies and themes for the month ahead, as well as taking a deeper dive into how these might be playing out for you in your life. This is a general reading, so it's not going to resonate for all of you, but what I do find is there's always a shared theme that runs through the collective of all of you Pisces signs. So it may show up in different areas of your life in slightly different ways, but the theme is always the same. So take what feels aligned to you and just leave the rest. And before we jump in, a big thank you to all of you who are supporting my channel by liking and subscribing. So if you enjoy this reading and you haven't already done that, please do. It helps the channel out a lot. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe, and then you can get notified when the next videos are up. So Pisces, let's jump in. I always like to tune into the energies first, Pisces, before I start pulling any cards. I'm a psychic reader, so I like to see what the universe shows me. Feeling a very transitional energy, and I feel like many of you have, really come through quite a challenging time, like particularly, coming into this year, like the last few months. And there's the closing up of not just a significant chapter, but also an old pattern, which involves letting go of, limiting beliefs that you might have been holding about yourself, letting go of old versions of yourself. And stepping into a new version, but there is also something around, really integrating the soul lessons that have been learnt, because I do feel like there's been a lot of learning. I feel like it's been, very challenging, a lot of lessons learnt, a lot of healing, and now moving into this next chapter, it's so important to actually, ground those lessons into the reality. So very much, showing up in a different, version of yourself, a more healed, embodied, complete version of yourself. Definitely some lessons in self-worth, value, deserving. And shifting a little bit, I feel, from, being everybody else's caretaker to actually being more of your own right now. And to me, when I look into the energies, I do feel like there has been a lot of time and energy for others and supporting others in whatever they're doing, what their interests are, things like that. But avoiding in the process of that, really working on your own life. And I feel deep down inside, in those kind of subconscious parts of us, that there may have been perhaps a deeper fear of not really feeling, worthy and deserving of, the life that you really want. Or perhaps for some of you, the partner that you really want. I mean, it could be career related, a little bit like I said at the beginning, it could show up in, different areas of your life. But it's the same thing, the same lessons here. What lies in your overall energies is the Two of Cups. So this is very often soulmate energy. And it represents the balance between, masculine and feminine. This is two people who are choosing each other. They're sharing those cups through a place of deep mutual trust. Now, for some of you, this can represent connecting to life purpose. It's not just about love, following your heart and not being afraid to move towards, what your heart truly desires here. And so that can be career related. It can be about life purpose and, doing something which actually feels fulfilling for you, something that's close to your heart, What lies in your recent past is the Four of Swords. Your current energies, the King of Swords. I already saw that card. I was like, it's the devil. Your feelings towards your situation, the devil. I feel for some of you, this relates to love, and this is the person that you're dealing with here, this King of Swords. Now, something may have occurred where you have felt like you needed to take a step back. You know, this is the energy of a moment of a pause, of stillness, and a moment where we allow ourselves to be perhaps in a quiet space where, first of all, you can restore your energy, but also it's about, you know, being able to really listen to your heart. You know, because when we are surrounded by, you know, chaos or a very challenging situation, it's very difficult to really hear the truth and to hear what our heart says. Now, for some of you, this could be somebody leaving your life, because I do see for some of you, someone walking away, somebody leaving, and it's not going to resonate for all of you, but I get the sense of them going towards another connection. And this energy of not feeling chosen, which of course is bringing up those soul lessons that I talked about around not feeling enough, not feeling worthy, deserving. And you may have had them down as your person. I feel like you've been dealing with someone here who may have, let's say, some, you know, slightly narcissistic tendencies or a little bit avoidant, you know, because the King of Swords is not someone that leads with their heart. This is somebody that, yes, they're like a deep thinker. You know, they make their decisions based on the facts of a situation. They make their decisions based on logic, information. And this is someone who tends to think their feelings. They don't necessarily lead with their heart. And I also feel like there is a question here around, you know, were you ever on the same page? Or is this person that you've been dealing with actually just part of a deeper soul lesson for you? You know, maybe they weren't meant to stay. Maybe they weren't meant to be a life partner. I certainly feel like on your side, you know, that was the potential that you saw in this. I do feel like this is someone who kind of came on really strong. It feels a little bit like love bombing to me. And I do feel like you're a little bit cautious at first, but then after a while, I feel like you allowed your heart to go in there. But it takes time to really get to know someone. And what I'm feeling is, it's not that they're a bad person or anything like that, but I feel like you've been dealing with someone who, in terms of love, you know, this might not show up in other areas of their life. In terms of love, they may have a little bit of a deceptive heart. I do pick up a little bit of a player energy, I'm going to be honest, of someone who perhaps has been entertaining other connections, chatting with other people. It may not have been physically cheating, but I definitely feel on your side, you know, there has been an intuition around this, but I feel like you got so wrapped up in the potential and who you thought they were going to be for you and who you became as a result of that, right? Because that's where, you know, those soul lessons are as well, you know, of, you know, being acknowledged and chosen, and therefore, you know, feeling enough and I am lovable and all of those things. It's also about who you become, you know, as a result of them being the person you thought they were going to be in your life. That there's something, you know, that's kind of in the shadows there with this person. And it may just be that they have been chatting with others, you know, something like that I'm seeing, where they've kept their options open, but yet you have been, you know, in there just focused on them and being loyal. And I definitely feel like this is just someone with a little bit of a deceptive heart. You know, they may be great in other ways. You know, it doesn't necessarily mean, you know, they're a terrible person, but I feel like this is someone who finds it difficult to be honest. Someone who's perhaps not really ready for a deeper, healthy connection. And someone who I feel perhaps finds it difficult to be truthful in love. Ultimately, it comes from, you know, a wound from their past, being hurt in the past. And, you know, these behaviors are, on some level, part of a protection. But I feel like, you know, this has been some kind of trauma bond in terms of, you know, it's brought up these soul lessons for you. And these go right back to your childhood, I feel, where there's an energy of perhaps an absent parent or someone that kind of was there but at a distance. You know, there'll be something that feels familiar, you know, to childhood for you about this connection. Like if you tune into how this makes you feel, you know, how all of this kind of what feelings that brings up for you, I think you'll be able to connect that into childhood. That will be for some of you, but I definitely feel these are lifelong lessons for you, where you've allowed your boundaries to be compromised in the hopes of love. So you've put your needs to the side because, you know, there are these deeper feelings of unworthiness and not feeling good enough and unlovable. And you put your needs to the side in the hopes of love. And what has happened, you know, that this person's either left, walked away, and that's brought up this, you know, abandonment wound. They may also have chosen someone else, which, you know, really, really brings up those kind of feelings. And the invitation here, I feel, is to, you know, really heal this, you know, put this to rest, you know, once and for all. And just remember that you do have the ability to do that, even though it might be challenging, it might, you know, it might not be so easy. You know, you do have the ability to do that. Like the figures on the card, the chains around the neck are loose. They can take those chains off at any moment. So really this is an energy of liberation and breaking free from, you know, this old pattern. And, you know, that's what I'm seeing for you. It's like the ending of a huge part of your life, actually. And I feel like the person you've been dealing with is just another player in that pattern. I definitely feel that, you know, this was about a lesson for you. For them, you brought in a possibility of a healthy love. I feel like that brought up their fears, their insecurities, because I'm seeing a spotlight, you know, really being shone on, you know, the things inside of them that they need to look at. And I feel like they have, you know, kind of checked out and they've gone where it's more emotionally safe. For those of you that it does, you know, resonate that, you know, they have gone and explored another connection, I feel like they have, you know, moved towards someone who allows them to just still be who they are. They're not, that person is not demanding anything from them. Whereas with you, you know, it was about growth and healing. And that's where, you know, things kind of, I feel, hit a little bit of a challenge. So some big soul lessons here, and, you know, very challenging times. I feel like it's been very up and down, you know, hanging on to kind of hopes of, you know, the potential that you saw there. And this may be someone that you kind of stopped and started with 2 or 3 times as well, you know, because I do get the sense of, you know, someone coming kind of in and out of your life a little bit here. In the challenge, we have the Sun. This is a card of clarity and seeing things clearly. It's also happiness, joy, approaching life with an open heart. It's a very potent energy of creation. And so it may be a little bit of a struggle still to, you know, really find that joy and that happiness inside of yourself to, you know, really open up to this new chapter. Because it feels like there's just still a little bit of your energy, your heart, that is still kind of enmeshed in this person from the past here. But I do feel like you are being asked to really see the whole picture here. You know, this is, you know, clarity, and we've got the Devil here, the King of Swords. You know, there were many things I feel that were really missing from this connection for you. And what you were not getting, I feel, was that deeper emotional connection with this person, to feel supported and truly loved, seen, you know, and received, you know, for who you truly are. And that's what you deserve. And I do feel that's what you've got to kind of just keep reminding yourself of, you know, that you do deserve to be loved in the way that you love someone else. The hidden influence is the Ten of Wands, the ending of a chapter, a completion of something. You know, this is often the energies of, you know, feeling like you're carrying something. It's the energy of, you know, feeling burdened, sometimes with obligation, responsibility. And I just feel like you've been carrying this for quite some time. And the invitation now is really to kind of move beyond that, to start moving forwards. And just really recognize, you know, this connection for what it truly is in terms of, you know, those higher soul lessons. I think with any connection, you know, the most important thing is to, you know, whatever the experience, to always work on yourself and to always, you know, grow, become a better person, you know, through whatever that is. And then, you know, really you come out the other side winning if you can do that. Doesn't mean it will be, you know, without emotion, or it doesn't mean it might not be challenging or difficult. But you can absolutely use this still to, you know, really grow and take your power back in this situation is what I'm feeling. I feel like you've kind of just lost yourself in that a little bit. And just trust, you know, that this person, I feel, has been almost moved out of your life. And the reason why is because you have outgrown it. You've outgrown the connection. Even though there's a bit of your energy that's kind of still there, there's this new chapter opening up. You have been learning, you have been, you know, working on yourself, and it was time. It was time to take a different path. Your advice from the universe, we have the Seven of Wands. Sometimes this is a guarded energy where someone's got their guard up. And other times it can just be simply you standing in your truth. especially in the energy of adversity. And I can read that two ways. One way I could say, you know, don't be too closed off to life, because, you know, the universe is trying to bring in, you know, some kind of new beginning for you here. The sun, you know, joy, happiness, approaching life with an open heart, an energy of expansion, and the ending of a chapter, and one which, you know, has gotten really heavy. And just make sure that that doesn't close you off to what else is out there for you. But at the same time, you know, it's also about staying true to you, standing in your truth. And I feel like that is also about staying true to what you really deserve, you know, in love, in life, whatever that is for you. And in your outcome, we have the 9 of Cups, which is, you know, emotional contentment, fulfillment. And in a love reading, this is more a single energy, and it often represents when we kind of get to that sweet spot when, you know, we're kind of feeling all right as we are. It doesn't mean, you know, that we don't want love or we don't want to connect to a life partner, but it has to be the right person. So there's much more of an energy of, you know, discernment that really comes through with this card as well. You know, not settling for less. Like, you're okay as you are. You're being the best partner to yourself moving forwards. And the arms are folded, the legs are a little bit apart. So there's some kind of, I feel in this case, a healthy, I don't want to use the word guardedness, because it's more of a discernment. You know, the next person that you connect to, you know, you're not going to give, you know, go all in unless, you know, that person really earns that. And you can really see that they are, you know, truly the right person for you, and that is a healthy love. And if it's not, then you're okay on your own. That's what I'm feeling from that card. So Pisces, I'm going to leave that there. If this reading resonated, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And as always, no matter what comes through in a reading, moving forwards, always trust what feels right for you. So thanks so much for being here, and I wish you a great month ahead.